Hey, what's up? Romain from Glebe Kitchen. If you've ever wondered how to make Indian restaurant curries just like they do in the restaurants, stick around. I'm going to take you through it start to finish. Ready? Here we go. Some oil, some whole spices, some onions, some garlic ginger paste, some powdered spices, a little tomato paste, some curry base, give it a stir, a little more curry base, maybe some chicken, a little bit of lemon, you're done. Got that? No? Let's try it a little slower. The first thing you're going to need to do is learn how to make curry base. It's not that hard. If you've never heard about curry base, it's the stuff they use in Indian restaurants to crank out curries in 10 minutes. There's not a lot to it really, it's kind of a weak onion soup. On its own it's pretty boring stuff, kind of bland really. You'll be amazed actually when we get later in this video how something so simple can turn into something so delicious. The ingredients are pretty straightforward too. A whole bunch of onions, some garlic, some ginger, a few powdered spices, a little salt, and some cilantro. That's about it. Water, of course. I find it really hard to make soup without water. Everything sticks to the bottom and burns. You're gonna have to trust me on this. Water is important. There's a lot of hurry up and wait when you're making curry base, really. Just simmer, 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 simmer some more, and then simmer. Just plan on being home for a couple hours and do other things while it's cooking. After it's simmered for about an hour, it's time to add a few tomatoes. Make sure you don't buy tomatoes with Italian seasonings or other flavorings. You just want straight canned tomatoes. I really like to keep my curry bases simple. There's a lot of recipes out there with all kinds of weird secret ingredients. I don't go for it at all. I'm not your mommy though, do what you want. Just don't come back here and complain that everything you cook tastes like green peppers or carrots or whatever else you decided to put into it. Give it about 30 minutes after you add the tomatoes and puree. Once you've pureed it all, it's time to put it back in the pot and you guessed it, simmer some more. After it's simmered for about an hour, you should see the oil starting to separate. Don't worry too much if it doesn't look exactly like this. You're more interested in the consistency at this point. You want it thin. It'll thicken up when we cook the curry, you'll see. Oh, and freeze what you don't use for later. The other thing you're going to want to make in advance is your Indian spice mix. Think of it as the foundation of your spicing for your curries. A way of getting trace amounts of spices in each dish. It really speeds things up and it's way easier than trying to measure a dash of this and a pinch of that and generally making you crazy. Like my curry base, I like to keep my spice mix relatively simple. I use coriander, turmeric, paprika, cumin, chili powder, garam masala, and curry powder. For the curry powder, I use my own reverse engineered version of Bolt's. Don't worry about trying to capture all the ingredients by the way. The recipes are available at glebekitchen.com. There's links down below. Focus on what I'm doing here. You can get all the nitty-gritty information from the website. I'm trying to make this easy for you. Cooking is supposed to be fun. Speaking of which, it's time for the real fun to start. It's curry making time. I'm making a chicken madras here, but the techniques I'm going to show you will apply to just about any curry you care to make. Start by adding your oil, and remember, never skimp on your oil when you're making restaurant-style curries. Restaurant curry is not diet food, just accept that. When you see the oil start to shimmer, it's time to add the whole spices. For this recipe, chopped onions go in next. You want to fry the onions until they get a little bit of color. You're not looking for that deep brown that you get in traditional Indian curries. The big onion flavor comes from the curry base. As soon as the edges of the onions start to color up, it's time to add the garlic ginger paste. There's water in garlic ginger paste, so it's gonna splatter. In fact, the whole process of cooking Indian restaurant style is very messy, so do yourself a favor, don't wear nice clothes. And think about making your own garlic ginger paste. The prefab stuff they sell in jars isn't very good, and if you're gonna go to the trouble of making curries, might as well do it right. Once the garlic ginger paste stops splattering, it's time to add your powdered spices. This is the moment of truth, so you want to make sure your heat's not too high and you really pay attention to what you're doing. And it's why you added so much oil at the beginning. You really want your spices to fry at this point. Too little oil and you risk them burning, sticking, making a big mess. And if you make that mess, you're starting over. This is what you want to see in the pan. Spices bubbling in oil. Perfect. Once you get past this point, you're in the all clear. As soon as you get some liquid in the pan, in this case diluted tomato paste, you can crank the heat. And it's that high heat that's going to help you get the Maillard reaction you're looking for when you add the curry base. You hear a lot of people talking about caramelizing the onions. That's part of the story, but really the big thing is the Maillard reaction. Think of browning a steak or baking bread. That's the Maillard reaction. Heat hits amino acids and reducing sugars and magic happens. Google it if you're interested, it's fundamental food science. Although understanding it isn't really what's important here, making sure that you make it happen, that's what counts. Don't be afraid of turning up the heat. I like to add the curry base in 3 stages. I usually add 3 ounces or about half a ladle full to start, fry it up until it thickens. And it is frying more than boiling here. That's another reason why it's important not to skimp on the oil. After about 90 seconds, you should see the oil starting to really separate from the curry base. So let's add a little more curry base, about a ladleful this time. You'd think the way this video is edited that you should stir your curry base all the time, but you'd be wrong. Maybe my ADD is worse than most people, but I didn't think anybody wanted to sit here and watch curry bubble for 90 seconds. So do as I say, not as I do. Add your curry base, give it a stir and let it cook. Don't touch it. Let Maillard just do its thing. Do as I say. That's terrible. Maybe I am your mommy. I'd feel bad about it, but that's really not my thing. What's done is done, so let's get back to making curry, shall we? Same drill as last time. Add your third ladle of base, give it a stir and let it cook about 60 to 90 seconds. I wish there was such a thing as smell-o-vision because at this point it smells incredible. It smells like the light of India in here. On that note, it's never a bad idea to open a window when you're cooking Indian restaurant style because you don't want it to smell like this tomorrow. At this point it's time to add the chicken. I like to pre-cook my chicken when I make Indian restaurant style because chicken throws a lot of water when it cooks, and that can really mess with the consistency of your sauce. That's it, the curry's pretty much done at this point. Let it simmer for about 5 minutes and add a little lemon juice to round things out. If you can get these few simple steps down, you can make any Indian restaurant curry you want. It's just a matter of practice from this point out. Once you have it figured out, there's going to be absolutely no stopping you. This recipe and many more are available at gleebkitchen.com. If your favorite isn't up there, drop me a note and I'll see what I can do. If you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more, please hit the subscribe button or give me a like, or better yet, both. And remember, life's too short for bad food.